Man, Ministry's output ever since the Bush trilogy has either ranged from extremely mediocre to just downright terrible. Filth Pig was pretty much their last really great album, and their stuff after that in the 2000s was actually pretty solid as well. Animosity Samana is incredibly slept on. But after they disbanded and reunited again, everything they released has been extremely subpar. Relapse was a total mess. I literally cannot remember anything off of From Beer to Eternity. Americant is actually their worst album, and Moral Hygiene was a step up, but still not great. And while Ministry has always been extremely political and upfront about their views, on later albums, especially Americant, their messages and lyrics have gotten to the point of self-parody. You see, in the Bush trilogy, Uncle Al actually knew how to write provocative messages that actually made the listener question their worldview and want to go out and start a riot in the street or something. Nowadays, again, it just feels like self-parody with the unnuanced takes, and it kind of comes off like old man yells at cloud. But enough about the lyrics, that's not something I usually pay attention to when listening to music. Is Hopium a kind of comeback album for Ministry? No, not really. It suffers from a lot of the same problems, especially production-wise, their latest albums have, albeit this one has like a few standout tracks. For one, every song, it seems, uses these like annoying spoken word samples. Maybe they were cool in the 2000s, but they're just so corny and overdone these days, it becomes grating. Right off the bat on opening track BDE, which is quite literally an acronym for Big Dick Energy, we have this loop of this woman saying toxic misogyny, violence over and over again. It's not cool, it's not edgy, nor does it make a statement, it's just irritating. And there's a bunch of other dialogue bits that pop up, and these come up again and are even more of an issue in tracks like Aryan Embarrassment and Just Stop Oil. We hear stuff like, our government is doing nothing, I am fighting for my future, and the list just goes on and on. Not to mention, man himself, Joe Biafra, guests on Aryan Embarrassment, and man, I love the Dead Kennedys as much as the next guy, but this little spoken word part here is just the same old government bad, the punk scene sucks kind of stuff, but again, with no nuance, it's just kind of like dumb 8-man wording. I'll just establish this, it's not really so much that I disagree with these takes, it's just that the way that they're worded and stated, it just comes off weird. And I really hate to get political like this in an album review, but with like an album like this, it's kind of hard not to. But about the actual music, it's all right. Again, that I mentioned that the lyrics are here are basically self-parody, and the music tries to sort of revive the sounds of Psalm 69 into Mind is a Terrible Thing to Taste, with varying degrees of success. There's actually a couple of tracks here that are pretty solid, like I mentioned before, specifically those being a TV Song 1/6 edition, New Religion, and Goddamn White Trash. TV Song and New Religion try to go for Ministry's more thrashier side, TV Song sounding like something from Rio Grande Blood, and New Religion sounded like it could fit nicely on Psalm 69 with its like harmonies and industrial elements. Goddamn White Trash might actually be the best song on the album, as it has these cool riffs that sound pretty mechanical, and it's pretty much a song that is 100% Ministry, as there's not too many other bands that do things like similar to them, like maybe Godflesh and Fear Factory, but other than that. But goddamn, the production on here sucks. Everything is stupidly compressed, with the vocals buried. The guitar tone is god-awful, with it being super thin and having no crunch whatsoever. I know Ministry's mechanical sound is like a staple of most of their albums, but here there are a lot of things that could have been done much better. Don't even bother and try to look for the bass, you will not hear it. At least it was inaudible for me. The synth sounds, they're all right. They're, again, a little like grating and abrasive compared to everything else in the mix, but not terrible overall. Other than those standout songs, though, the rest of the album is either forgettable or mediocre. Just Stop Oil is quite literally a ripoff of Super Beast by Rob Zombie. Literally. Just go listen to both. They sound eerily similar. Call of Suffering tries to go for like an almost funk vibe with like a choir and like maybe like some groovy industrial riffs over it, but it ultimately fails to be memorable. It's not pretty. It starts off promising with a sort of like ominous acoustic intro, but it just devolves into just random industrial heavy riffs and weird screaming. The cover of Ricky's Hand by Fad Gadget isn't too bad, and it closes out the album. It tries to bring back the whole With Sympathy era sound and meld it with new Ministry, with Al Jurgensen announcing plans to re-record that album. If it sounded like this, I'd be pretty happy with it. Granted, they fixed up the production issues. So I was initially pretty positive on this album when it came out, but looking back, it's only slightly better than Ministry's latest stuff. It's not terrible by any means. Like I said, it's only a slight improvement. The lyrics are pretty awful. The overuse of samples is really annoying, and the production has some serious issues. If you're not a fan of their last few albums, maybe check out a few songs from here, but don't listen to the entire thing. Hopefully, with the Paul Barker reunion, we'll get a new Ministry album that's truly amazing, which said album the band is already working on, so maybe it'll be out next year, which, I mean, next year is in a month. So we'll just kind of see what comes about, as well as the re-recording with Sympathy. Al also claims that this next album will be Ministry's final album before disbanding, which I do not buy for 1 second. I mean, they've already disbanded before. They're not gonna stay disbanded. I know, like Al's like, oh, I'm 65. I wanna grow up and do like film scores and stuff, but there's no way Ministry's gonna stay disbanded. I mean, these bands that always say like they're gonna break up all the time, like they never stay broken up. Anyway, but oh well, we'll just kind of have to see what comes about. I'm feeling 57 out of 100 on this one. There's some good stuff. There's quite a few stuff about good amount of stuff of value here, but there's like so many issues as well. It's just very mediocre album. Anyway, again, if you don't like Ministry's new stuff, maybe skip over this one. But yeah, so keeping up with the album reviews. Next ones I plan to review would be the new Bruce Dickinson album, as well as the new Judas Priest album. And I have a long list of albums left to review that were released this year. So yeah. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. See you all soon. Bye.